Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Papillion La Vista Community Schools Board of Education meeting for March 28th, 2022. Section 1, call to order. Item A, the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Thank you all. Item B, roll call, please.
Here.
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 Here. Thank you. That concludes Section 1, call to order. Moving on to, before we move on to Section 2, communications. As we note at every meeting, the open meetings law is posted at the entrance to the boardroom. All right, starting off Section 2, communications, one of our favorite items of each meeting, our recognition. Turn it over to you, Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lotus, members of the board. Thank you, as always, for our community members being here this evening. We try to have this at least once a month on the agenda, and sometimes it happens twice a month, but we provide recognition for students and staff members who have distinguished themselves in some way that goes above and beyond the call of duty. So Mr. Lotus is right. This is one of our favorite parts of the agenda. We have a number of individuals from two high schools that we are honoring tonight in two very different categories, powerlifting and swimming, and I'll get to that in just a little bit. What I will do, though, is I will pause after the powerlifting, and then we'll invite some people up to take pictures. Parents, you're obviously more than welcome to come up and take some pictures, and then we'll get to the second round of recognitions as well. So, starting with the 2022 Nebraska State Powerlifting Champions, we have several of these individuals who I believe are with us this evening. We have Brett Elise Paul, a sophomore from Papillion La Vista South High School, who placed first place in the girls' Raw 48. Second, we've got Layla Fiscus, a junior from Papillion La Vista South, who placed first place in the girls' Raw 56. And we have Olivia Broderson, a junior from Papillion La Vista South, who did first place in girls' Raw 67.5 and was the girls' Raw best lifter overall. Before we ask for recognition for our girls, we do have a couple of boys that we want to mention as well. I don't know if either of these individuals made it this evening. I didn't see them initially, but we'll see if they're here. Ben Schaefer, freshman from Papillion La Vista South High School, placed first place in the boys' Raw at 82.5. And Jaden Collette, a senior at Papillion La Vista South, first place in the boys' equipped at 75. Before I invite you to come down on behalf of your Board of Education School District, can we give these individuals a round of applause? Congratulations, ladies, and thanks for taking time off for your busy schedule to be here this evening. Love to have our students attend our board meetings. The next category is for the 2022 Nebraska State Class A Swimming Champions, and I think probably our community is aware of this, but if not, we do have a co-op team for the pool at Papillion La Vista High School, and we do have athletes from both Monarch and Titan that compete for us. The first swimmer we are honoring tonight is Jack Irwin, a unified swimmer for the Papillion La Vista Community Schools boys swim team. He's a senior from South. He placed first in the 50-yard freestyle Special Olympics in Nebraska, incredibly special event. Next up, we had the Papillion La Vista Community Schools girls swim team, and we had 4 different individuals. Gracie Cunningham, who's a senior at Papillion La Vista High, Olivia Dendinger, who's a 12th grader at Papillion La Vista High, Teresa Kavanaugh, who's a 12th grader at Papillion La Vista High, and Elizabeth Ford, who's also a senior at Papillion La Vista High, and they scored a first place finish in the 200 medley relay. And lastly, out of this category, we had Olivia Denninger, who of course swims for Papillion La Vista Community Schools, senior at Monarch, who was first place in two different events, the girls 200 individual medley and the girls 100 breaststroke. She won by 0.2 of a second and set new school records in both the 200 IM and the 100 breaststroke. Again, on behalf of the community, the district, and our Board of Education, can we recognize these outstanding individuals? Again, congratulations to all of our student athletes on a job well done and bringing honor to yourselves, your families, and the school district. And with that, Mr. Lotus, I would conclude our recognitions for the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Rickley. All right, moving on to item B under Section 2 Communications, our military advisory report. Welcome up, Colonel Cooley.
Welcome, Colonel.
Thank you, sir. It's great to be back.
Good to have you.
And great to be not wearing a mask.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right, so last time you'd asked about the upcoming air show. So the 2023 air show will be the 26th and 27th of August out at Lincoln. I want to make very clear that this is not an off-it air show that's just been sent over to Lincoln. The folks, a lot of very hard work is putting this on. It's going to make this happen. That's from the Nebraska National Guard, City of Lincoln, Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, Lincoln Airport Authority. So we will be providing assistance with that, but that is, we're happy to say that I'm happy to say that they're doing such a great job, and we will be providing our own air show the following year in '24 with no specific dates at this point. They'll have historic and current aircraft from all the services out there. Air Force Academy, Wings of Blue, and other performance teams will be there. First time in 7 years that this air show has been out there, so really looking forward to get it back. And the Navy's Blue Angels will be the headline act out there. So very much looking forward to office opportunity to participate in this, and then of course hosting again. We've had to cancel, unfortunately, quite a few of them in the last decade for flood, sequestration, and some other problems. But we're looking forward to having our own event out there in 2024. The flood recovery is really kicking off in full swing. We have, honestly, a massive demolition project going on. Some have said it looks like a tornado has gone through there, but torn up most of the derelict, flooded out buildings. The first of the new facilities will be coming online this time next year, but we're looking at 2027 and after for the final completion of the overall project. So still a long way to go with that. Summer rotations coming up for military personnel. So May, June, July timeframe, of course, is the biggest rotation. So great deal of upheaval for our families and our students. But of course, we have our programs on base that will do everything we can to minimize that impact on our families. As of last Monday, the base is at Health Protection Condition Alpha, which is basically business as usual. We have no restrictions, and all facilities are back to full capacity. Masks are no longer required on base. We have a few exceptions. Any personnel or any people that have appointments out at the clinic, at Berquist Clinic, they're still required to wear masks if they're in any patient areas. But the rest of the base is back to business as usual. Next month, April, is Month of the Military Child. Our Air Force School Liaison Program, in partnership with Pavilion La Vista, puts on a great set of activities for our students, along with other school districts as well, not just Pavilion La Vista, of course. Door decorating contest with gift cards for the winners. We have a partnership with the 4-H, Air Force Child and Youth Education Services. They have a Padlet where they will be able to scan or send pictures and messages and communicate with other people that are using this platform all around the country. And we're also providing material and other options for considerations for our school partnership to use if they would like to. I think that is all the new information that I have, but happy to field any questions from the board.
Colonel, thank you for being here as always, and thank you for your service. I believe the question that I asked last time, and maybe the answer will be the same, but with the ongoing crisis in the Ukraine, how has that impacted the 55th and STRATCOM, and is there any chance that we see elements of the base be deployed as a result of that situation?
Well, we have air crew and airframes that are at the existing operating locations already. They've been out there. We've been at those operating locations for many years. But we are definitely flying missions that are participating in the ongoing conflict out there. I can't get into really any more detail on what and how. But STRATCOM, of course, is paying close attention to what is going on over there as well. So still very busy on base as we consider what we must do to prepare for every activity that's going on out there. Fortunately, I can't get into too much more detail. But we definitely have air crew and airframes out there, maintainers, of course, that are working very hard to keep those jets in the air to support the combatant commander.
Not so much a question, just a comment.
Yes.
I was out there, I guess it was last Monday. A friend of mine and works a civilian contractor with the RC135 Sim, so on our spring break and everything, he invited me over. I got to go take a look. Remember, it's been a long time since I've been in one of those Sims, but it was amazing how much devastation there is down there from the flood. Being a former First Acts guy and everything, and working at the wing building and everything, it's just I'm looking forward to when it starts to build back up again, because it's definitely not a whole lot of fun to look at right now, but I'm sure you guys are sick of looking at it since you see it every day.
It's a sign of progress. Yes,
Yeah,
it is a mess. I drove through there this morning, and it is truly a mess up there, but it's undeniable forward progress in getting that damage repaired. If you were to walk through those buildings that have just been demolished, it was like a time capsule from when the flood came through, and it was obviously faster and higher than expected, and there was lots of damage. But it was interesting to walk through there and see just how things have kind of frozen in time up there. But most of that is gone at this point.
Thank you.
To prevent this from happening again, they're bringing in enormous quantities of soil, tens of thousands of dump truck loads, and they are raising every foundation, with just only a few exceptions, they're raising every foundation to above the 500-year flood line. So hoping to avoid that again. All of those foundations are actually going to be above the levee line, so we're certainly expecting that to last for the long term. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Colonel. All right, that concludes item B under Section 2 Communications. Moving on to item C, our Student Council report from Papillion La Vista South High School. Welcome up Eby Del Campo and Hallie Settles. Welcome.
Hello, board. It has been a while. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm Hallie. I'm the vice president.
And as Mr. Lotus said, I'm Eby Del Campo, and I'm the president of Student Council at Papio South. Our athletics department has gotten under the way with spring sports. Starting with baseball, Papio South has been very busy, and they started off their season with an opening victory against Omaha Northwest. They've also had wins against Bellevue West and Lincoln Southwest. They are currently 3-1 in the year and ranked in the top 10 in the state. Their next game is on the road against Creighton Prep tomorrow at 7, and we wish the baseball team the best of luck. Next up, our boys soccer team is off to a red-hot start. They caught their first win on the road at Lexington soon after they competed in the Bellevue East Invite and became champs, winning the Invite. They won against Bellevue East and Kearney. They also had their own home opener last Thursday where they took the win against Millard South in a very exciting game, starting off their season with a record of 4-0. Their next game is at home against Benson at 7, so we encourage all of you to come out and support at Foundation Field. Our girls soccer team has also had a very impressive start, and we have a record of 3-0. We have wins against Bellevue West, Millard South, and Bellevue East, and all the girls have been working very hard in practice and are very excited for our first home game tomorrow against Marion at 7, and we encourage all of you to come to that as well. Next is girls tennis. The girls had their first match against Westside on March 21st. JV won against Westside, getting wins from multiple girls in singles and doubles. Their most recent match was against Millard West on Friday. JV was away and varsity was at home. Hannah Evanoff won in singles 8-6, and Ingrid and Annabelle won 7-3 in a tiebreaker. Quinn Groves won in singles for JV, and Elena and Miley won in doubles. They compete tomorrow against Marion at home. We wish the ladies the best of luck. Next is boys golf. The boys started off the season strong, competing in the PLCS Superintendents Cup. They were champs and loved getting and starting off the season with some friendly rivalry. We just want them to keep working hard. Girls track and field. The ladies started off their season at Elkhorn South, having tons of girls do excellent and get multiple PRs. The team placed third overall. Then they traveled to the College of St. Mary indoor invite with a small group of girls, and overall as a team they placed fifth. Next, they traveled to their most recent meet was at Doane indoor invite on Friday. They had lots of girls get PRs and hit some awesome placings. Next is our boys track and field. The boys traveled to the same meets that the girls did. Elkhorn South invite, they got tons of PRs and finished fourth place as a team. Then they traveled to College of St. Mary indoor invite, where they had a ton of boys do excellent. They traveled to the Doane indoor invite, where they placed fourth as a team, with tons of PRs and a great group effort. The girls and boys hosted a dual meet today. It's going on currently, and then traveled to Columbus invite on April 1st, and we wish them the best of luck. Along with our athletics department, our finance department has also been very busy these past couple of months. Our play production students put on an amazing production of Lost Girl. The play production class performed the closing night of the show this past Saturday, and it was loved by all audiences, and the students did a spectacular job of displaying many mature roles. And we are now getting ready for our spring musical of Footloose, which will take stage on the weekend of April 29th. Our show choir department has had a very successful season. All three of our show choirs in our award-winning show band Platinum have placed at least the top 5 at multiple competitions, so it's very exciting. Our department finished their season at Lewis Central's Clash of the Titans, with our prep group winning 3rd in their division, our varsity unisex group earning their 5th consecutive first place win, which was the first time in school history ever, and our mixed varsity group earning grand champs, as well as multiple caption awards for our amazing soloists and band. Our students' hard work has paid off throughout the entire season, and we would like to congratulate them on a legendary season. The students would also like to recognize their directors and their parent volunteers for their dedication throughout this season. Our winter band activities have been very successful for Papio South. We have about 50 students participating in jazz band this year, and they have attended multiple festivals, either placing first or earning superior ratings, also being recognized through caption awards for their soloists. We also have 5 marching arts ensembles, 3 winter guards, 1 winter winds, and 1 percussion ensemble, and these groups have all earned high rankings at numerous competitions. HWAA championships are this Saturday at Bellevue East, and NSBA State Jazz Contest is April 8th at Kearney High School, and we wish these musicians the best of luck. DECA, 34 DECA students attended the state DECA competition in Lincoln over spring break. 29 placed within the top 8, with multiple others qualifying for DECA Nationals in Atlanta and the international competition. We're so proud of all their hard work, and I know that there was a couple students that also got scholarships, and we just have seen all their dedication this past year, and it paid off. Our ROTC unit, which is made up of Titans and Monarchs, just completed their competitive season. Their drill teams, academic teams, and athletic teams all received various awards throughout the season. It was another successful year for this group. Prom is 2 weeks away. Our prom will be held at Ralston Arena on April 9th at 8 p.m. Our junior and senior class officers are working nonstop to make it just a memorable dance. Following the dance, we have a group of parent volunteers that have organized a fun and exciting post-prom where there will be karaoke, a movie room, henna artists, mechanical bowl, bounce houses, spike ball, a hypnotist, and many more fun activities. We would like to thank Dr. Rickley and the board again for all that you do for the students and staff. We recognize your constant drive to improve our community. In behalf of all the students, we are very appreciative of you all. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments?
No questions, but you're supposed to be slowing down for the year, and it sounds like you guys have a lot on your plate. It's wonderful.
Getting better never stops.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both. All right, moving on to item D under Section 2 Communications, our public comment for items not on tonight's agenda. Again, this public comment period is limited to 30 minutes unless a majority of the board votes to approve extended the allocated time. Individuals are allocated 3 minutes each. And again, as I call you up to the microphone, just please state your name and address for the record. Ms. Branco has her timer out. Again, the first beep is at about 2 minutes and 15 seconds, kind of giving you that 45-second window to wrap things up. My clock going here. All right, first up this evening for public comment on items not on tonight's agenda, Whitley Red, please. Welcome.
Hello, Whitley Red, 8823 South 99th Street, La Vista. After last board meeting's comments, a few of the parents who watched wanted to purchase the inclusion shirt for La Vista West Circle of Friends chapter's fundraiser to show support, but it had closed. A La Vista West parent contacted the school and asked if they would be open to making another order for the fundraiser. We needed at least 13 t-shirts in order for free shipping. So we had the board meeting YouTube video and a picture of the fundraiser paper shared to our family and friends, other PLCS parents and community members, and asked if they'd like to place a t-shirt order for the fundraiser too. For 48 hours, from Tuesday morning to Thursday night, our phones kept dinging. After just 48 hours, this La Vista West parent got to bring the Circle of Friends sponsor at her school $1,500. This consisted of 112 t-shirt orders, plus $316 in just donations, equaling $772 they will get to keep for their activities, service learning projects, and advocacy against bullying in PLCS. After last board meeting, I went home feeling angry and hurt. My 2 autistic daughters get multiple therapies at PLCS, and a half dozen specialized professionals are on their teams, making sure they get a good education and make progress, even if that looks different than other kids. They only get this at our school, and diversity and inclusion efforts are why they exist. After last meeting, I was worried and scared that maybe our community wasn't supportive of them or others who experience different challenges or hardships. Now, after those 48 hours, I know that that support exists. Our community, people from all types of ableness, background, and even extreme political differences came together to support inclusion and the amazing kids and teachers that are trying to make a difference. I just wanted those of you on the board, here in this room, and those watching, to know that even though you may not always see or hear them, there are many people supporting my kids and all of our kids and making sure they have at least some place outside of home to be included. I am sorry that there are a few teachers and parents that are uncomfortable at the thought of people standing up for inclusion. Not all kids are included already, though. I can say that from personal experience. But I am thankful that the negative attention inspired people to come together and pour positivity into this wonderful program. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up this evening for public comment on items not on tonight's agenda, Logan Eby. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Logan Eby. I reside at 1401 Edgewater Circle. My comments are related to the vote for PLCS post on 3/14/2022 before the new page was created and the OPPD rebates our district received in 2012. On the Facebook page, Vote for PLCS on 4/13, the anonymous admin posted the following: Logan Eby brings up open meeting law concerns. She also continues to try to hunt down financial errors made by the district. She has certainly changed her tone tonight from the previous 2 years now that she has announced herself as a candidate. Over the last 2 years, she has been furiously attacking the school district and board members. Tonight, she is likely trying to mend relationships. However, parents and current board members are unlikely to forget her previous actions and words. Since the admin for Vote for PLCS is anonymous, I am unable to talk directly to the individual and ask them why they made this post and gain a better understanding of their viewpoint. I will gladly meet with the individual or anyone to show them my analysis and give them my working file. After conducting an audit of our district's financials, I believe the financials are sound. This is a very good thing. Regarding the OPPD rebates, after a review of the district's financials from 2012 to February of 2022, I was able to identify what I believe is a revenue opportunity that our district may want to consider exploring. In 2012, our district received $70,724 in OPPD rebates. I created a booklet that contains information for the business rebate programs OPPD offers for your review and consideration. The booklet contains the program benefits, requirements, getting started, rebate amounts, and list of OPPD trade allies for the following programs: lighting rebate program, HVAC equipment rebates, and advanced rooftop unit control rebate programs. If anybody would like my assistance on this matter, please let me know. I can do anything I can to help to get the rebates. The last page of the booklet has approved allied trade vendors, and some of them are from Ralston and La Vista. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you. Next up this evening for public comment on items not on tonight's agenda, Dorothy Reyes. Welcome.
Hi. Dorothy Reyes, 1019 Conestoga Road. In a recent KETV news story updated March 22nd, 2022, titled Papillion La Vista Community Schools buys camera systems for all elementary schools, uses ESSER 3 funds, and continues on to talk about Ryan Larson's disappearance and what if the school had security cameras in place as the reason for implementing them. The story also stated that they have been on the radar but wasn't affordable. However, on November 16, 2020, on the PLCS district website under ESSER, intended use for ESSER 3 funds, implementing contact tracing cameras was listed as a use for PLCS GEPA statement, use of funds. Mr. Richards has previously talked of the use of cameras for contact tracing in addition to security. Ms. Eyman has previously stated in an email to me that they have used the cameras for contact tracing in other schools in the district. There's absolutely no mention of use for these cameras in the recent Newswatch 7 report in regards to contact tracing that has been discussed in this boardroom and via emails and the GEPA statement. I would like to know why that was omitted from the story. Today, the district website updated. The implementation of contact tracing cameras has been removed and now states implement cameras for security in buildings across the district. Are you no longer planning to use these cameras for the intended contact tracing use as originally stated? Or has there been a grave concern using them as contact tracing in that way that will completely violate student and staff's rights? Thank you.
Thank you. Next up this evening for public comment, excuse me, Brittany Holtmeyer. Welcome.
Hi. Brittany Holtmeyer, 2007 Ridgewood Drive. Teaching children to love one another. As a mom, that's a mission that I have and I always will have with my kids. John 13:34, love one another as I have loved you. Do not judge one by their religion, their race, or their disability. When children start seeing different words in schools, on shirts, reading books that maybe their parents wouldn't want them to be reading, seeing signs in a classroom, it's alarming. These are the type of things that start to make a child think, do I need to think like that? It's installing a thought in a child's brain that they don't even need to be thinking about. This is how a divide becomes, especially when it comes down to not including one another due to either their race, sex, disability, or religion. Every child needs to be included. You have these shirts that tell a person, this person isn't included because they are different. To myself, many others, and to some teachers from the district, something like that makes us feel as if the district is telling them that they are not included and that they are different from others. I made myself pretty clear last meeting, but there is a candidate running for the school board acting like a true politician, switching my words around to make a story that was not true. Back in September, after having a conversation with this fellow candidate, after being called a menace, I was simply kind enough to offer her help, to be a voice to help get the help that she needed for her children, help with IEP, or to be an assistant to anything that she did need. I have worked in the special education department in the district, and I fell in love with the kiddos, and I have kept in contact with families to this day. So let's stop labeling things so much and just do what's right for our kids. Lead with love and compassion. And just going back to that Vote for PLCS page, my friend is the one that did call up here and told you guys to take it down because it did look as if it was from the district. Funny thing is that the website or Facebook thing was taken down about 3 hours later and then put up a week later, and in the About section, you then added, this is not associated with the district, school board, and staff, along those lines. So to me, that is kind of funny that that's now added once someone had called up to the district. So to me, it's coming from within the district, or it's coming from a family member, spouse of a person on the board, I don't know. So just wanted to throw that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up this evening for public comment on items not on tonight's agenda, Michael Kuchenmeister. Welcome.
It's Kuchenmeister, Michael Kuchenmeister, 10231 Cimarron Woods Drive. I'm here because I've noticed an increasing attack on our public schools, and it's ridiculous. We have, well, I heard last meeting there was attacks on SEL, social and emotional learning, and I couldn't understand what on earth that angle could possibly be. What would anybody have against that? It helps students become more aware of themselves, their feelings. It helps them communicate their thoughts better. And I mean, I don't know, I heard indoctrination being thrown around. I don't see how that could possibly be. But I hope our district recognizes that this is growing. And I feel like we need to make some kind of statement against it or something. I know we are not on the wrong side of this, but I hope the public can understand that better. I've seen some inspiring statements come out from other districts on these attacks on our public education system, and I hope our district can do something similar, just so it doesn't look like we're on the wrong side of it. So, thank you.
One more. Thank you. All right, last up this evening for public comment on items not on tonight's agenda, Regina Pouch.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Regina Pouch, 904 Berkeley Avenue, Papillion, Nebraska, 68046. I'm actually here today to talk to you about SEL, so maybe it'll help the last gentleman better understand why there's a little bit of concern. But I'm hoping that maybe a parent at home might be watching, and this can help them be more aware of what SEL is and to ask how it's being used in their child's classroom. I'm curious, does the Board of Education or the people in charge of the curriculum at Papillion La Vista attend the classroom and oversee what the teachers are doing to incorporate SEL at every grade level? My first grade student who attends school in this district has SEL incorporated every day. At the age of 6, she has a book that she writes in about her feelings. The way she described it to me was as though she had a diary. Did any of you guys ever have a diary or a child that kept a diary at home? A diary is a very intimate thing that a child can share their feelings with themselves on paper for no one else to read. I don't think that this is something that belongs in a classroom with their peers or where their teacher can overlook what they are writing down and what they feel about things. A school should be a place for my child to learn and be educated, not to have their perfect emotions broken down and criticized or questioned. I can't imagine being forced to talk about my personal feelings and emotions in front of my peers at any grade level, or being broken down or questioned by a teacher that I actually look up to. Please quit ruining our babies and just let them grow up without changing what makes them perfectly unique. We don't want robots at graduation time. Their emotions and feelings are never wrong. Teaching them one way to react to any type of emotion is teaching them to be someone that they are not. Seeing there's a staffing shortage within the district, you may also want to take a look into consideration the current staff being required to add an entire section of their day to SEL could be quite exhausting and absolutely unnecessary, being that their time could be more valuable teaching them about math, science, history, English, writing, reading, etc., etc. Our teachers are not trained to be child psychologists. However, each school has a guidance counselor, and I believe that that's where social and emotional problems within the school system belong. I would ask that each and every one of you educate yourselves on SEL and be more aware that our children's emotions are perfect and they make them who they are. By breaking down their emotion, by Breaking their emotions down, especially in front of their peers, is extremely wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes item D under section 2 communications, public comment on items not on tonight's agenda. We'll move on to item E, our superintendent's report. Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lotus, members of the board. As always, for our community members who are here this evening, thank you for being here. Your input is very valuable, and for those that are watching on YouTube, thank you for joining us virtually. Your input is likewise valued. First off, just wanted to remind everybody that we are officially in the fourth quarter. Doesn't seem possible. Last week was the first full week back from spring break. I hope all of our families, students, and staff had an enjoyable break. I know the weather was a little bit of a mixed bag, but hopefully had an opportunity to stretch your legs and get ready for the last several weeks of the school year. Wanted to call out Dr. Settles and her team for working to fill one of the last administrative positions of the school year, hopefully, and that is the Trumbull Park principal. Regrettably, we're losing Miss Amy Nichols, who's moving on to La Vista West, and will do wonderful things at La Vista West, but that does leave some big shoes to fill at Trumbull Park, and we'll be doing that with our interview process on Wednesday. Also wanted to thank Mr. Richards and our Buildings and Grounds team for the continued excellent work they're doing on projects around the district. La Vista West in particular is continuing on as scheduled, and if you haven't been to Foundation Field recently to see the team meeting room, it's coming together quite nicely. So the bond work is rapidly coming to a close. Also wanted to highlight for the board a few special experiences I've had in the last week and a half. Don't often get out of the district for these types of things, but I had 3 different opportunities in the last 2 weeks. One, I was asked to be a judge for Big Brothers Big Sisters. They have a number of annual awards that they do every year. I've done that for probably 7 or 8 years, so I'm always honored to be asked to come back and help with that. Also had the opportunity to serve as a guest lecturer for Doane University. I've served as a guest lecturer for Doane University in the past with their doctoral candidates, and it's always fun to talk a little bit about life from the superintendent's chair, and hopefully they can take away a little bit of my experiences. The last experience was a little closer to home. Carriage Hill Elementary did some mascot voting, something that Mr. Bailey is aware of well with his significant other being in that building. They set up a really cool simulation where the simple thing to do, I suppose, would have just been, here's your mascot, maybe ask for a vote. But the administration and staff decided to make it look like a simulation of what voting looks like for adults, where they come in, you check your last name, they check their birth date, they were briefed by other students on how the voting process worked, they had a little voting booth set up, and then on their way out of the media center, they all got an I voted sticker, just like we do when we vote at the polls. So a really cool opportunity, and I got to greet the students and check names and birth dates as I walked in. I don't think they quite knew who I was, but it was still a fun event. And lastly, we do have commencement fast approaching, May 8th, which is Mother's Day. That is at Baxter Arena, and we'll continue to provide reminders to the board and the community, but always one of the most special events of the year, saying goodbye to our graduating seniors. And with that, Mr. Lotus, I would conclude my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Rickley. Moving on to item G under committee report, or item G, committee reports under section 2 communications, building grounds and finance. Did I skip 4? Oh, board count. Oh, just none tonight. Sorry, just nobody. Sorry, I got cross off happy. Sorry, sorry. Woo. All right. Item F does exist on the agenda, so board comments this evening.
I'll follow up. Just Cosmo, the cougar, by the way. Cosmo the cougar. Yes, I had to make sure that got out there because, yeah, Mr. Hively did a great job. My wife came back just talking all about it, and she said it was just her students. She's got 3rd graders. They were very excited, loved the process. So, big shout out to Carriage for that. That was a lot of fun. So, I just had to make sure you got the name in there.
Over spring break, I think it was the day after our last meeting, Dr. Tafoy and I, along with Mr. Richards and Dr. Rickley, Simon was there, took a tour of the 2 high schools, which was really great. I mean, with as much stuff has been locked down over these last 2 years, haven't had that many opportunities to do it, but take a look at the different facilities at the two high schools was great, and I appreciated the tours from the staff at both of them. And then this Friday, we're excited. We got tickets to SpongeBob. What time is it? 7:30, whatever time. Friday night. We got tickets, taking the kids to SpongeBob. They'll love it, I'm sure. So looking forward to it. And then we'll have to hit up the Titans one later in April as well when they do their musical. Yeah, that's it for me.
I just want to say thanks to Mr. Bailey for stepping in and running the last meeting in my absence. So thank you for stepping in and allowing me to take a vacation with my family for spring break. So, again, thank you so much. All I had was, again, it's great to see spring sports kicking off. Hopefully the weather continues to change, and it's spring in Nebraska, so I always feel for the track and field folks, the soccer folks, the tennis folks, because they just never know what's going to come one day to the next, whether they're going to be able to compete or not, and then all the coaches and them managing all the reschedules and everything else. So good luck to all of our student athletes for the spring season, as well as Evie and Hallie noted just all the other activities that are going on throughout the district at both high schools, middle school, sports and activities are continuing. So best of luck here for the fourth quarter. Any other comments this evening from the board? All right, seeing none, we will now officially move on to item G, committee reports, building, grounds, and finance.
Building, grounds, and finance have not met, but we have a scheduled meeting for next Friday morning at 7.
Thank you, Dr. Tafoya. Human Resources and Student Services.
We have not met.
Thank you, Ms. Witt. And Curriculum and Americanism.
We have not met.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. All right, well, that concludes Section 2 communication. Moving on to Section 3 action items. Item A, our action by consent.
I'll make a motion to approve the action by consent as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Ms. Fisher and a second by Mr. Madler. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Thank you. Moving on to item B, our board meeting minutes of March 14th, 2022. Before we move on for a motion or a second, I just want to let tonight's meeting minutes reflect that the March 14th minutes of the board meeting that the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee had met. That was stated during the meeting, and just want to reflect that in these minutes, as they were not noted in the minutes that are up for approval.
I make a motion to approve the board meeting minutes of March 14th, 2022 as published.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Mr. Madler. Roll call, please. Yes.
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 Thank you. Moving on to item C, under Section 3 action items, the NRD resolution. Mr. Richards.
Yes, we were able to discuss this resolution at the last meeting. The resolution from Papio, Missouri River Natural Resources District requires that each jurisdictional governing body to adopt a attached resolution supporting the plan to be eligible for any grant funding that might come about due to natural disasters in the area. So I would entertain any more questions you might have on this particular resolution.
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution of the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan from the Papio, Missouri River Natural Resources District as presented.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Madler and a second by Ms. Witt. Any further board comments or discussions? Seeing none, seeing no public comment. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you. All right, that concludes Section 3 action items. Moving on to Section 4, our discussion and information items for this evening. We will start with item A, our strategic plan, strategy number 1 update. Ms. Siri.
All right. Good evening, Board of Education. I'm going to have the CIA directors join me here for this presentation. Tonight, we wanted to take the opportunity to update you on the progress with the strategic plan. We're going to focus in on strategy number 1, which is the curriculum, instruction, assessment, and actually technology portion of the strategic plan, and give you an update. Before we start, I'd like to introduce this team in front of you. Lucas Bingham, of course you know, he's here every Monday night. He is our technology director in the district. Dr. Julie Sauer is our secondary curriculum director. Dr. Deb Rodenberg is our elementary curriculum director. Missy Jabin serves as our CTE administrator with the academies. And then finally, Dr. Tammy Voisin is our director of special services. They have each led a portion of this part of the strategic plan. And we have multiple action teams that are working to do the work that was laid out by this process starting in 2020. So they're going to update you on the progress, but before we get too far into the weeds, I want to refresh your memory just on a few things. You'll probably recognize this document. This is the document that was developed with the community committee that first met in February of 2020 that not only worked on belief statements for our district, but also a new mission statement. This was the group that met. They met in February of 2020 for the first time, led by Dr. Kevin Kastner through the Cambridge model, took us through this first part of the progress. This group is made up of teachers, administrators, community and business partners, as well as a couple of board members that sat on there to represent the board, parents, students, and a variety of building level and district administrators as well. They came back together in March of 2022 for us to update the action plans and the progress. And our target now is to take each one of those strategies, or AKA goals, and share the progress with the Board of Education as we continue to move forward to complete the work on the strategic plan. So as I stated earlier, we started in 2020 right before we actually pushed out for COVID. We met at the end of February, and March was when, of course, we pushed out and our ride with COVID began. So in some ways, that did slow down our progress on the strategic plan, but in other ways, we had opportunities to speed up the work. One of those ways was the opportunity to have dollars available to us through the federal stimulus dollars that were made available that allowed us to move faster in some areas of the strategic plan than others. So the good news is we've made a lot of progress. I think maybe one of the things that we'll share with you tonight is the order in which we are making that progress looks a little bit different, part because of the dollars that were made available to us. So tonight we are really focusing on strategy number 1, which is the teaching and learning portion of the strategic plan. Again, in the Cambridge model, strategy is an interchangeable word for goal. So I believe in your older strategic plan, those were referred to as goals, but we're calling it strategy. So you can see there on top, this was the strategy for teaching and learning that was written by that community stakeholder group. And then the specific result statement was written by action teams that came together to actually do the work. And the action teams were made up of internal folks in our district that included principals, teachers, as well as the leaders you see in front of you tonight. And they did research with outside community support services to make sure that we were moving in the right direction. Those action teams actually identified what targeted statements needed to be done to complete this first strategy. And so tonight, those bulleted items were statements that were designed by the community stakeholder group, and we're going to give you a progress update on each one of those as we are trying to move towards completing and achieving that first strategy. So with that, Lucas is going to talk to you about the first bullet, which focuses on technology and data.
Good evening. So as Shireen said, our first two bullets of this goal or strategy of the strategic plan focused on enhancing and expanding technology, and then also making, having the opportunity to make data-informed decisions and utilizing our data inside the district. So the first bullet point is an update that I know the board is very familiar with, as we've brought many of these items to you to expand technology for our students across all levels. At the secondary level, that would be our one-to-one program, so every student has the opportunity to have a device from the district. And then at our elementary level, we really expanded and were able to provide additional technology that's available during the day in the classrooms for our students and staff to utilize. That was definitely an area, as Shireen mentioned, that benefited from some of the additional funding sources that we had available. Certainly would have taken us a lot longer to implement had that not been an opportunity for us. And as you all know, huge efforts went out for that at all levels, not only from our staff, who I'm eternally grateful for, but support from the board and administration, and most of all our teachers, who have really, I feel, embraced it and provided additional opportunities for students they didn't have before. The data piece that we'll talk about is really an opportunity to modernize the way we look at data and are able to use data sets in the district. We've always had ways to evaluate that data, but we are implementing a tool, which is going to be one of the pieces that'll take a little while because there's so much intricacies involved with data manipulation and evaluation and assessment. But it's a tool that we're implementing called Otis, and it's a data warehouse dashboard visualization tool that we'll be implementing over the next several years. Probably it'll take a while to implement. We've certainly hit the ground running with that with our teams here internally. So you can see up there, that really focuses on analyzing all sorts of data across the gamut, whether it be behavioral, academic, assessment, across all of our levels. And then the last piece is really focusing on continuing to improve and strengthen our infrastructure to make sure that all these data components and additional technology we're putting out there are able to be sustained and reliable for our staff and students.
Thank you, Lucas. I think the next slide is on staff development, and I think I'll just echo what my friend and colleague Lucas mentioned about thank you for your commitment, board, to a strategic process. I've been a part of other strategic processes in other places, and this one was extremely well run. It has been a multifaceted process over a couple of years, and even with COVID, we were able to keep that work moving forward. And it's a lot of teams working together to get a lot of great things done. So thank you for your commitment to that. In 2021, we were afforded a great opportunity to expand a new dimension of professional development for our teachers with the Google transition. So in 2021, in addition to building level professional development and district level professional development, we were able to add personalized learning for our teachers. So when our teachers engaged in the Google transition trainings, they were able to do so in traditional ways, like in person, during contract day, but we also expanded it so that they could engage in those outside the contract day. They basically traded some time to have the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and so we offered sessions in person, via Zoom, even some online modular content at different hours outside the contract time. So we ran sessions at 6:45 in the morning, 3:45 after school, some into the evening, some on Saturdays and some on Sundays. Also, through that transition, we were able to offer levels of that training. So if a teacher was already very highly proficient in using Google, there was something for that teacher along with the teacher who was just starting to use Google. So this past year, due to a reorganization of leadership roles on our own team after a retirement, we were able to include a professional learning facilitator. And she is a dynamic educator who works pre-K through 12 to bring all of these pieces together, not only with Google, but a host of other topics as well. And she works with us, she works with our building principals, she works with teachers, she works with classified staff, she creates content, she co-creates content, she facilitates content, she recruits presenters, she schedules presenters, she gathers feedback. We are offering a whole host of different personalized learning sessions for educators where they get to choose, and they get to choose the time in which they do it. They get to choose the modality. So we have in-person trainings, we have Zoom trainings, and we have online modular content. It's been a great addition for Papillion La Vista Community Schools. So thank you.
The next item on the for our strategies is a strategy that came forward from our last strategic goal as well, the preschool expansion. And so as we looked at what's happening within our current early childhood programs and how can we build upon those, we looked at adding on at Parkview Heights. Golden Hills went to a full-time, so we were able to expand that so that students could be there all day. And then through the bond issue, we were able to move the preschool program that was at Carriage Hill back to Carriage Hill in their own room. So that's an exciting time. And building on what Lucas and Julie has said, the expanded and adding of interventions and looking at how those are identified, how we train our staff, we're really relying a lot on the professional development component to systematize those interventions, making it so that teachers, if they have a need, they can easily access the training so that they can access interventions to support our students. So again, building on that technology and the Otis, using that data to help drive our interventions, using the professional development to help support our teachers to do those interventions with fidelity. So we're all very much connected within. Missy?
Good evening. Along with all the other things that we've talked about this evening, we also expanded our skilled and technical sciences offerings, which is in a big part to this current bond that we are in and the expansions at both of our high schools. So really appreciate the support of the community and the board on those expansions and the opportunities that it's giving our students as they take advantage of those opportunities in high school and then transition to career or further education. Included with that is our Jumpstart courses, which is at Metro, and a partnership with Papillion La Vista Community Schools and Metro Community College at the Sarpy Center campus. We have 3 different programs there for students to take. One that is a college Jumpstart opportunity for students to take college credit in high school to kind of get ahead of that freshman year in college. And last but not least is we also implemented our own online courses that are PLCS credit, giving students an opportunity to take those courses in a safe environment. Everyone thinks, oh, it's going to be easy to take an online course, right? Well, it's also a lot of time and effort to really pay attention to what you need to get done and at what time. So we really give the students an opportunity to have one foot in that online experience, but have that support within the school from our teachers.
So we've talked a lot about what we've done already, and we were able to meet with that stakeholder group to update them on what we've done so far. But we're not done. We still have a number of things to do. So this slide just shows you a few of those next steps. So we are going to continue to build that professional learning opportunity for all of our staff in what Julie described with our professional development model. We are going to work on creating an instrument and really researching how we can evaluate that rigor. That was something that was really important to that stakeholder group. So looking at the rigor as part of that curriculum evaluation process, we will research for an instrument, possibly creating an instrument that fits our curriculum and our needs. We are going to implement PD, or that professional development for staff, around that data-informed decision-making. So Lucas talked about using that data warehouse, and that will have all of our data inside of it that we can look at program data, we can look at how our students are doing, both just in grade levels and buildings individually. And that takes some professional development with our staff to teach them how to use the tool best, how to look at the data and be able to analyze that and have deep conversations on what we need to do next. We will continue to improve that technology infrastructure, again, that Lucas talked about, and continue to monitor and adjust for any implications that we have had so far with COVID or unforeseen things that might come up because of that.
Perfect. So thanks, team. So that brings us to the end of the curriculum, instruction, assessment, and technology strategy. Just to refresh your memory, we have 2 additional strategies. One is focused around mental health, and the third is focused around human resources. We will have those groups also come in and present at upcoming board meetings. They'll share their progress, and we'll bring in the leaders that have been working on that work in that portion of the strategic plan. So is there anything we forgot, team? Okay, so questions or comments that you guys, the board have?
I have no questions, but I do want to compliment you on the strategy and the systemic and systematic way that it's put together. The use of data to inform both professional development needs and instruction is very important. And the personalized learning for professional development that includes not just the teaching staff or the administrators, but goes all the way down to professional and classified staff as well, because they are important and have learning needs as well. Curriculum and intervention. I just think that using the data to help inform where that intervention needs to take place is important, and building those partnerships with the skilled and technical staff is also a very positive relationship with our community. And then my final one, I think, is the most important, is reflection, setting up your evaluation tool and looking back and seeing where improvements can be made. I think that this is just a full circle of very solid strategic strategy or goal. Thank you. Perfect.
I would echo a lot of that. This has really been impressive to watch things go along and to see how much more we're offering our students, but also our staff, getting that opportunity for our staff to have the development, as well as giving the opportunity for our staff to maybe take part in other things with our students, which opens up the door for them to have more opportunity. One of the questions I did have, because we've been doing it for a while now, but for the PLCS online courses, do we have a lot of participation from teachers wanting to teach them and students wanting to take them?
Val, I think that's a great question. And the answer is, to be honest, we don't have consistent data at this point. COVID really kind of threw a wrench into it a little bit. The first year that we offered, we've had online courses for quite a while, and Missy could talk about that through our academies, because for our students to be able to participate in all those experiences, they had to complete some of the coursework in an online module. So we've had that in the past, and we've had high numbers and a high success rate, and it really does take students a while to transition to learn in an online mode as opposed to a face-to-face classroom, so to speak. The first year that we built the online classes, we did it in a partnership with Metro. Metro obviously had done it for a long time, so we used their experience and expertise as to what that should look like, and then really worked with our teachers that have gone to school and have a lot of experience on the science of teaching. We had really high numbers that first year, and even the second year registration, then COVID hit. A lot of those kids continued on, but the classes then were also tapped a little bit different. We had more students in them. We had some that used it for credit recovery to finish a course because perhaps they missed for quarantine or for multiple reasons. So I think the conversation, and Julie could also speak to this, is moving forward is we're also trying to evaluate, do we have the right courses? Our vision was never to take all classes online. That's not the point. We really wanted to give kids, as Missy said, the opportunity to try it with a safety net. But I think ensuring that we have the right courses and that we're offering courses that kids are interested in is also part of it. So we're trying to be strategic with that through our curriculum toolbox process. And I know that there's even one course that we're thinking probably long-term wasn't the best course to pick to build. It was great to try, but it's a science course. And it's just too hard, complicated for the kids sometimes to get all the lab work done on top of the instructions. So it's constant evaluation and reflection, but we're excited, I think, when we can move beyond COVID, which we're starting to right now, but also beyond the learning loss, the credit deficient, and those types of things to see what our real numbers will be. Anything I forgot there, team?
No, I appreciate that. That's great information, and I was anticipating you were probably going to say some of that with COVID and everything. I do think it's a wonderful opportunity for our students to get that chance to dabble in the online courses, because for those that may go on to college or even community college, they're going to be doing more of that than they had in the past. So this does give them, like you said, a safe place to give that a try and get a good feel for it. So, but thank you for the information.
I just wanted to say thank you as well. I appreciate all the work that you all have done. As the guy who's getting the high school students into college, I really appreciate the technology that you're making them use technology, and you're making them, most kids, I guess, know more about it than I do, obviously as the old guy here, but also the online, I think, is a big thing, because I know that we see, we essentially have 3 different models. Obviously the in-class, we have the hybrid, which is part in-class, part online, and then the online. One of you made the comment about that they thought the online class might be easy, and we see that a number of times with students that say, oh yeah, I'm going to take all my classes online, and then they realize how hard that really is. So I think it's fantastic that the school system, and I know there's others around the metro and around the state that are doing this, and that you can see the difference when the students come to the colleges or universities, those who have had a chance to actually dabble in that. So thank you very much for all your hard work. Appreciate it.
I just wanted to thank our community group that helped us back in 2020 as well as 2022. Shireen articulated the list. It included parents, staff, students, included 2 of our board members, Ms. Witt and Ms. Fisher. Thank you for contributing to both events. It was very powerful. Also want to thank our directors for their leadership. I thought the job that they did on the front end as well as the recent briefing a few weeks ago was simply outstanding. And most of all, I want to thank Ms. Siri for her leadership in all of this. I was shocked how much we've accomplished in the last 2 years during a pandemic when, frankly, our job one was just keeping our doors open and our kids in a live, in-person learning model. That was no small task, especially compared to what the rest of the country experienced. So to continue to keep our doors open and to make significant progress on really important strategic goals is no small feat, and it just wouldn't have happened without Shireen's leadership and the directors in front of you. So thank you for your outstanding leadership.
Other questions? I'd just like to end tonight also by thanking this team and as well as the principals and the teachers. We've had a lot of people involved serving in different roles, whether it be from research or input or feedback. A lot of people have, and I really believe that's why the product has come out as well as it has, and also allowed us to move forward. When a lot of people are involved and you have a lot of great minds involved, it's easier to keep the trajectory moving. So, thank you.
Thank you all so much for all of your work. We look forward to updates on the other strategies at our upcoming meetings. All right, moving on to item B under section 4, discussion and information items, the 36th Street land sale. Mr. Richards.
Yes, we've had a developer approach the district about buying some land in the district. We own about 1.17 acres of land near Anderson Grove that currently serves pretty much no purpose for us at all, other than it probably was there for ingress and egress at one time for the school, and may have been the only ingress and egress at that time when it was originally built. There's a slope there. It's something that would be more of a burden on the district to probably try to take care of than actually ever be usable for us. Redwood LLC is the developer. The sale proceeds of the land would go into the district special building fund to help with different projects around the district with facilities, and that's per Nebraska state statute. We'd estimate the sale of the price at an appraisal just based on past appraisals over the last 6 months in the same type of neighborhood, about $36,000 for 1.17 acres. Not a huge number, but could be a good number to have just in the special building fund to do some things, as well as not have to take care of any more of that particular piece, which I'll show you here in a second. Depending on the time it'll take to do the appraisal and set it on the land price and what your comments are tonight, we could bring this back as soon as April 11th or probably more likely the 25th for you to take action on. Get that going here. There we go. Okay, so this is kind of a snippet of where you can see Anderson Grove there in the left-hand corner of the picture. And then where the yellow is the land we're talking about. Bellevue's 36th Street development is actually changing the ingress and egress of that particular road to serve the new neighborhood coming in the aqua blue and the older neighborhood to the north of Anderson Grove there as well. So what you have left there is a swath of land with an old ingress egress road in there. The land just to the north of that is, I believe I've been told anyway, that was previously owned by the district and was sold. Yeah, sold previously, so we still have that 1.17 acre strip. So with that, I would entertain any questions on this.
Do you know when the city's planning on getting that road done?
That's a great question. That's
it
a
seems-
long project.
It does, but, I mean, I know,
I can check on that for you.
I was just curious when, I mean, to me, this land is going to be of no value for us to hold on to after the fact. And if we've got somebody willing to purchase it, once that road is through there and take over that piece of land, it's good to get it off, because we have to maintain it otherwise, and that doesn't make much sense. But I was just curious if we knew when they planned on, I know they're working further down 36th Street right now, and if you are in the military homes there, or you're further south, it's not a pleasant drive right there and getting through Capehart Road and stuff, but I just haven't seen, I mean, they've dropped some stuff off there. That's what I see, and it's been laying there for a while, but I don't know when they plan on, so if we could find out maybe, I'm just curious about that, but for me, I'd say we get rid of the land. I mean, it doesn't make sense for us to keep it once that new road is there. It's just land we'd have to be responsible for, and responsible for anything that happened on it, so.
Any other comments?
Any other board comments, questions?
Just curious, the land that's on top of the yellow stripe, does that already belong to that company, and so they want to make it contiguous? Is that part of the?
I think they were looking to actually purchase that land as well, if I remember correctly.
Okay, just wondering.
But they were a little quiet about that, but yeah.
All right, seeing no other further board discussion nor public comment regarding the 36th Street land sale, we will move on to item C under section 4 discussion information items, the easement proposal at Papillion La Vista South. Mr. Richards.
You bet. I'll give you a little synopsis of this, and this was actually ran through the Buildings and Grounds and Finance Committee last fall. But BHI Development approached the district probably about a year ago, from my understanding, to try to get an emergency vehicle access at the east side of Papillion La Vista South High School, and I'll show you a map of that here in a minute as well. It's just north of the tennis courts. There's not a lot of opportunity for emergency access, ingress and egress there, because you have Walnut Creek trails behind that to the south, so they have approached us on this. We met with them again this fall to discuss further. The developer realizes, and the Buildings and Grounds and Finance Committee knows this too, because they've been through a lot of this before, but offering to grade a future site for us for free probably is way more of a benefit back to the district than, paying us $20,000 or so for an easement type thing. So I think this developer's been a pretty good partner with the district over the years on things like this, from, reduced land costs to, I think there was even a time, and I think Dr. Tafoya even mentioned this to me, that some of the developers back then even gave free land, and this may have been one of them back to the district at a time, a long time ago. But all costs associated with the easement would be paid for by the developer. That would include any relocation of trees, fencing, those types of things that are along there. It isn't a very easy path to negotiate if you've driven back in there. There's not a lot of room, so they are going to have to do a little grading to make that work. And we do have a sidewalk that runs right next to this tennis court that we use for our activities to get PE and cross-country and those types of things to get out to the trails. So we'll make sure that that area continues to have the sidewalk and is kept in good shape within the easement. They did offer to do the project this summer. Did talk to Mr. Spilker. He thought that would be an appropriate time to do that when less people are around the area. Project is estimated to take about 2 to 3 weeks in time. And here's a snapshot of where that would go, and you can kind of see the darkened area there between the tennis courts and the pine trees. And there is a slope that goes down through there that they will have to grade out and straighten to get back to that area. It'll be about 25 feet wide as an easement, considering we have a 5-foot wide sidewalk now. So to give you a little idea of what the space would be. With that, I'd entertain any questions or concerns you might have. And
So the offer to grade for us for free, is that in here, or is that a word of mouth kind of a handshake?
yeah, that'll be within the purchase agreement.
Okay,
That
that's
our
what I
lawyers
wanted to
are
make
still.
sure.
Yeah, and you know, this is one of those things that until we get that agreement in our hand, we'll probably push back for action on the board for this easement. And that, I'm hoping that that discussion item will come in the next meeting for that purchase agreement for the elementary school.
Do you anticipate movement of trees and things as a result of this easement? Because I know it says in here that they would cover that, but do you anticipate we're going to have to have
I
that
do.
happen? 'Cause
Looking at that, those pine trees along there.
That's kind of what I was thinking too when I'm just looking at, but also knowing where that is. Okay.
When we were talking about it, it was in the fall, I can't remember, November or something. One of my concerns was, having a bunch of traffic, right, vehicle traffic there. But it is, I know there's the prior note, but it is just for emergency vehicles for, the emergency situation. So it's not a full in and out of the neighborhood that will eventually get out
Correct.
there.
And I'll show you the next picture on that. I should have proceeded with this, but
Yeah.
that's what something will look like similar to that on both sides of the access easement. So there will be no traffic at all allowed through there unless there's a fire or, other natural emergency.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other board comments or questions? Seeing none and seeing no public comment regarding the easement discussion, we will move on to our final item, item D, the Policy 3000, Business Services.
Yes, and we do have a few policies in the 3000s that need to be updated from the recent legislative session, as well as federal. So 3103, I would propose that we adopt a whole new policy there, and the things in the old 3103 would be covered with this one. And 3102 and 3104 are pretty simple, quick policies that I have included in your packet that would also be covered in 3103. So KSB is recommending that districts do look at this policy because it is pretty specific now by law on how we proceed with our budget adoption and tax hearing process. So having that in policy, I think, would be pretty important at this point, since it has become that detailed over the last few years. The other one would be Policy 3406. This new policy would replace the previous 3406 to meet the district's goal to fully implement all required procurement rules, which always with federal money and federal laws there are a lot of. And this one's much more comprehensive, as you can see. And sometimes when you do an update like this, you just want to start fresh with the new policy that the lawyers are recommending and replace the old one. And that's what I'm recommending here in this situation. Otherwise, we'd have it all red lined out for you on what we're changing, but it's just, there's so many changes to it that we figured we'll just replace the whole thing. With that, if there are any questions?
looking at 3103, the budget hearing and budget adoption. So this is just the normal budget hearing that we've always done before a regular board meeting.
Yes.
Is there anything in the revised policies for the new combined budget hearing we have to do?
Yeah, there will be some changes along with that, and one of them actually may be changing this policy again this summer.
Okay.
Because they're talking about changing that September 20th date to September 30th now to meet with the new county hearing is going to be the big change with that, and they'll have a place, the county will have a place where all public agencies within the county, all school districts need to come to on a night and kind of say what you're doing with your property tax requests if you go over a 2.5% increase in revenue from the previous year, which in our situation, most years we will, because of the fact, number one, we're growing, but more so, we lose state aid every year because our valuations are going up. So when we lose state aid, we have to increase our property taxes to make up for that loss. So that's probably the major change. And then some timeline changes are coming as well.
Gotcha. So those aren't in here yet. We envision doing that once we get.
Yeah, I think that's going to go through pretty easily here in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
The last weeks of the session on that.
Thanks.
I have a question about 3406, and it's the small purchases between 10,000 and 250. It says quotes will be obtained, which you can just call and get quotes then from a vendor and things like that. So it doesn't say how many quotes you should get, minimum of 2 or 3 or?
Yeah, and I think we use the federal language here, but our district procedures are actually a little more strict than this, so we'll continue to use our district procedures. For example, we need to do that on anything over 109,000 to go to a formal public bid for our district. So they're saying over 250,000.
I was thinking that was high for,
Yes.
for our school district.
Yeah, and we just use the federal language to keep it simple, but we'll use the district policies even with the federal money.
Do these purchases come to the board for approval, or are they just in the consent?
Those larger purchases would always be
To the board?
with board approval.
Okay.
The smaller ones, the 10 to 20,000 range, probably wouldn't come to the board if they were already a part of the district budget to begin with, but we always try to let you know that when you're asking questions about bill pays or any of that situation with that
Perfect.
type of amount.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions regarding the 3000 series? Again, as you're reviewing, if you notice anything under the new proposed ones, feel free to send your comments directly to Mr. Richards, or you can send them through me as well, and we will make sure that they are addressed. All right, seeing no further board discussion regarding the policy 3000s and no public comment, we will conclude section 4 discussion and information items for this evening. Moving on to section 5, our future board calendar. Coming up this weekend, April 2nd through the 4th, is the National School Board Association Conference in San Diego. I know, is it Dr. DeFoya and Ms. Witt are attending on our behalf. Hopefully you have some good weather to sit in the giant convention center and freeze. I look forward to your report on that conference. I went to Philadelphia now 3 years ago, and it was an amazing event to attend with so many folks from around the country, as well as just the special student performances and speakers and things. So I'm disappointed it didn't work with my schedule to go this year, but I know it's always a great educational learning experience. So appreciate you attending on our behalf. April 4th, 2022, no school, is a staff development day. April 9th, 2022, as the ladies mentioned earlier, is the prom for Papillion La Vista South at what now is Liberty First Credit Union Arena, formerly Ralston Arena. I'm glad they are getting prom indoors this year and able to celebrate, so look forward to hearing about that here in the next few weeks. And then April 11th, 2022, the next Board of Education meeting at 6 p.m. here at the central office. Seeing no further business before the board this evening, I will adjourn the Papillion La Vista Community Schools Board of Education meeting for March 28th, 2022 at 7:29 p.m. Thank you all.